the Grey Hat Beard podcast. Workplace podcast where we talk about all things Microsoft 365. I'm the Grey of Grey Hat Beard. My name's Kevin McDonald. I'm the head of practice for Modern Workplace at CPS and Office Apps and Services MVP.
I'm the Hat, judging by this hat, which, yes, I know
It is a
lot
hat,
of people,
not a hamburger.
It is a hat, not a hamburger. So my name's Al Eardley, and I'm a technical architect at the Microsoft Technology Centre.
Hi everyone, my name is Gary Trinder. I'm the Beard of Grey Hat Beard. I'm a modern work consultant working for Microsoft in the UK, and I'm also a member of the Microsoft 365 Patterns and Practices team.
Hi there, I'm the Princess. I'm an M365 consultant based in Germany, member in the PMP team as well, and hey.
And we also have a guest with us today. For those who haven't seen on the video, Sarah, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, yes, thanks for having me. My name's Sara Fennah. I'm a Microsoft Certified Trainer and Microsoft MVP for Office Apps and Services.
Fantastic. And Sarah's going to be joining us for part 2 to talk about, goes back to show notes, make sure he gets it right this time, learning, training and certification for the Microsoft Cloud, because it is all about learning, which I still haven't learned from today. But we're going to kick off in part 1, and we've got 4 bits of news to cover. So number 1. We have, I think, was Gary talking about measuring your carbon footprint.
Yeah, so saw this release, I guess, from Microsoft, a preview of a Power BI dashboard to help you basically measure your cloud footprint. So it's the emissions impact dashboard, and this is, I guess, all part of Microsoft's commitment to sustainability. So this kind of fits in with if you've heard about it, the cloud for sustainability. So Microsoft have targets to be, definitely carbon neutral. I think there's water neutral, everything neutral by 2030. So there's a big strategic. Say that again, sorry?
BS neutral as well.
That was never gonna happen. Ouch, someone's had a bad day. But yeah, basically this is to try and help you understand what your carbon footprint is when you're using cloud services. So this is a kind of a first attempt. There's a few services that have been included in this. So Exchange Online is one, I think, SharePoint as well, that helps you measure that usage and to try and get those base metrics so that, once you've got those metrics, you can start to make improvements. And it's really interesting how, this is going to start that journey for some customers of actually where obviously there's the benefits of moving to the cloud, but what are the benefits from a sustainability point of view as well? So is there a sustainability angle to move away from your own data centers because Microsoft's data centers are more efficient? And, it's really interesting to see how this is going to play out. Obviously it's in preview. So, it's Power BI app. You can go and try it. But yeah, I thought it's very interesting.
So in terms of data, it's basically how much you'd save by moving to the cloud is the key portion to it, or is it how much you'd be using there? So is it just about the exchange, or would it be looking at number of services within your data center? So if you have more functions running that are left on, or like VMs left on over time, that's worse than kind of turning things off?
Yeah, I guess, if you're leaving things running, it's got to use some kind of power, right? So there'll be efficiencies, but I guess it's this is kind of aimed at certainly the 365 services at the moment, the managed services, if you like, that you don't necessarily have that control over. You're just using the platform, so everything is kind of abstracted away from you. But you're right, that's maybe considerations that need to be made, and that's maybe something that's going to come in the future, where you can actually look at your Azure resources and try and work out the carbon footprint of your usage. You don't want to leave VMs running if you don't need them because they cost, right? So there's a cost angle to that anyway.
I think it's also building on what Microsoft are doing to power their own data centers. So in order to say, actually, we are powering our own data centers, we're using natural sources rather than coal and gas, and so therefore, if you were using a traditional data center with traditional energy sources, what would the impact be? So there's a whole lot of stuff that a lot of clients look for in terms of the sustainability of the Azure data centers. This is trying to make that information more easily accessible to do a comparison. So it is something that we see, certainly working with clients in Microsoft. We see a lot of clients looking at this and looking specifically about how this can actually help them move on their own journey towards a more sustainable posture.
No, I think it's a pretty hard thing to argue about it not being a great thing that they're doing on there. I really like that they're pushing that sustainability angle from Microsoft as well. But and I think I do hope they go for that extra step of trying to persuade people to turn things off when you not need them, whether it's tellies or whether it's also looking at digital things. Your digital assets are using up just as much, and that's going to be the next thing that people look at. I think it'd be really good to start challenging.
I mean, it's as well as spring clean very soon. So just like turn off whatever you do not need to use right now. And I think the entire thing about cloud is I would just use what I need, and I do not need to just like buy in bulk and just like have overcapacity of everything, but I would just like use what I need to use and consume what I need to use, and it will scale automatically. So this is the power of clouds, and I really like this approach of Microsoft, showing that we're not super isolated in this world as tech people, but that of course this deserves a more holistic view, and that sustainability is super key because reasons, and I really like it.
Yeah, no, I like the push with that, and I'll put the link in the show notes. There's also details of Microsoft Cloud for sustainability. So this isn't the last we're going to hear on Microsoft and sustainability. It's going to be pun unintended, a sustained thing that they keep talking about and bring through.
How long did it
wasn't
take
intended
you to think
until
of
I
that?
realised. Yeah, but I think it's good, and I hope Microsoft brings the other big vendors along to talk about this as well. Al, you had a bit of news you found. Now I haven't seen about this one, so I'm intrigued as anyone else.
So I guess, having spent many years working with the Power Platform in multiple guises, one of the questions that is always asked is, how do I set it up? And we've had various steps in the journey towards governance, the COE, the Centre of Excellence that Manuela put together, that's now, a stock part of what everyone should be rolling out. But this actually takes this further. This is the North Star architecture for the Power Platform, which is really looking at all of the best practices that you should be considering from a design perspective. So before you start rolling stuff out, you can look at this. You can look at this and go, actually, where am I on the journey as well, in terms of what do I already have? So the COE will help you assess things, but this has got design recommendations from security, governance, the life cycle of managing solutions, the DevOps, the automation. It's got everything that we really wish we'd had 4 years ago when they launched the Power Platform, and now it's all there, and there's just a ton of information here that, anytime anybody mentions the Power Platform, we should just be going, have a look at this, measure yourself against this, because this just brings together all of the best practices that we've probably been talking about in small tactical bite-sized units, and it's all there in one place, which I think is fantastic.
So for those who can't see on the screen, could you kind of describe what it is? So it's a GitHub repo, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's a GitHub repo, and it's providing you context around the decisions that you need to make in terms of how you structure the environments, what environments are there for, what they can actually provide in terms of security, but then thinking about how you integrate those into the ways that you work with citizen developers, how you manage applications, how you look at the security and the personas together and map those together, how you look at the licensing, where it's assigned, what level of licensing you need. So it brings together. It's not
is this going to do Chris Huntingford out of a job?
Yeah, probably, but I'm sure he'll work out something else to do. But this is basically, it's not giving you the answers. It's giving you the considerations, the things that you need to be aware of to make those decisions. So, you would have had to pay a consultancy or Microsoft a lot of money to come in and make these suggestions and explain them to you. Actually, this is it all being out there for everybody to look at, so that actually you can actually look at it and go, okay, I understand what factors I need to take into account. Now I'm in a better place to make a decision about what I should do for my organization.
I mean, it covers just like everything that we have in mind when customers ask us, yeah, so what should I do? And we will reply with, it depends. And then they will ask, what does it? Yeah, I'm sorry, it depends. I need to put just like $5 in the spread jar again. But on what does it depend? And this is just like the entire thing on what it depends. It depends on how your organization is structured and which environment strategy you want to go for and how seriously you want to treat citizen development in your organization. And it gives you just like the entire background of what you need to consider without telling you there's just like one right way to do it. So, of course, there are a gazillion right ways to do it. There are also just like even more wrong ways how to handle this. Just because it's low code doesn't mean that it's just like less effort or that it's less secure or that we should be treating it as something that is just like not to be taken seriously. And I'm just like very, very pleased to see that they did this, because usually Microsoft is just like a little bit hesitant when it comes to opinionated guidance. Just like, hey, if you are A, then you should do B, or you should consider B, C, D, E, F, and then you get to your own solution. And I'm very pleased to see that they came up with this regarding Power Platform, and they really cover all of it, and not just like say, yeah, but you can do this without a single line of code, blah, blah, blah. So they take it seriously, and so should our customers, and I'm very pleased to see that.
So I don't know if anyone's had a chance to do a detail view. Does it cover how you can manage different environments for Dataverse for Teams?
Different environments for Dataverse for Teams.
Well, the number of different environments that you get and spinning up environment for every single team when people cover that. Because that is, someone was asking me again about that today. It's like, do you know, I don't know. And I don't think there is a good answer to that. And I don't think COE covers it yet.
Well, so in theory, you could have an environment for every single team that you have in your tenant. But those Dataverse for Teams environments, they're just like super quite limited, and they usually don't give you what you are looking for if you want to have just like Dataverse. And this is, from what I feel, it's just like it's more like a gateway drug into handling your data seriously instead of just like being a full-fledged database. But it just like should make it easier to transition into something that is just like more than a SharePoint list.
To try it out a bit as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is just like the try it out model, and if you're then hooked, then you should
from there.
You will outgrow the stage of Dataverse for Teams super, super fast.
Yeah. I think it'd be interesting to know, are you seeing a lot of that, Kev? Dataverse for Teams being used?
Bits and pieces, and people generally going there, hitting a limit and going, how do I govern this? What do I do? I can't do this. That's when you need Dataverse, is generally the conversations we've been having with clients so far. And it's nice that it allows people to sort of see that, so you can actually see something. We know that people previously could spin up trials and get it going on there. Now people can actually use something, have it active, but I think people are hitting the problems with it fairly early, which is kind of what it should be for there. If it solves all the problems, Microsoft's not going to make any money from licenses, and you're never going to get that value of the kind of single Dataverse. I still feel slightly sad that it's not called the common data model, because to me that was it was that common across everything was one of the benefits.
Data model's still there.
Yeah, it's service.
Service is what was removed.
Yeah.
The data model is still there.
Yeah.
Common data model is
The
still
one,
there.
yeah. I have a slide for that. So when I present this to my customers, the slide just like says, you get what you pay for, which means, so if Dataverse for Teams comes for free, if this is just like included in your license, and if this is just like a super limited scope, because yes, it only works in the team itself, and yes, the life cycle is tied to the life cycle of the team, which means the team is not for forever. We need to get rid of that idea that we need to keep everything forever. That it becomes abundantly clear that this is not the solution for all of our data needs, in my opinion.
Well, what's been nice is that people can kind of get started, and trying to persuade someone to invest in the full Dataverse for a large organization is hard without being able to show something directly. If suddenly you've got 10 different Dataverse for Teams apps, flows, PVAs, etc. in there, suddenly you have a little bit more justification. Go, look, if we migrate these, we're going to get the benefit of these actual things, not this theoretical, you could make these things, these actual ones, and then everything else is a bonus on top of it. So it's been good for those conversations, definitely.
Let me ask you a question.
Uh-oh.
If you ever
I love that response.
I'm in evil mode tonight. Did you ever attempted to migrate from Dataverse for Teams to full-fledged Dataverse? Did you ever do this?
No, because we recreate them.
Yes.
Again, it's
it is a pain in the ass, and no one should be going through this. So I'm just like shameless plug. I will be covering this hopefully in a session at Comsverse. But it is just like it is not nice.
Whoa. What do you mean you're covering at a session in Comsverse? We haven't heard yet, have we, about who's been accepted?
She did say
hopefully. I said hopefully. So this is why I said the fingers. So for everyone who's just like listening, Louisa did this fingers crossed gesture, just like
so everyone should hassle Mark to make sure that does get included.
Yeah. So it is literally super painful, and no customer should be going through this. And if they consider, hey, Dataverse could be a choice for us, because all the other things where we could store data in, just like an Excel table or a SharePoint list, which is not a data, but but it comes for free in Power Platform. And the reason why it comes for free is because this is for end users. And stuff for end users is free in Power Platform. And stuff that is not meant to be used by end users is not free. And we need to understand. So this is the rule of thumb. Everyone understands this. And Microsoft does not tell it like that. But if you're not an end user, you should be doing this better. And all the other stuff where we could store data is just like either a premium connector, which means I need to pay the license, or is something where no connector exists, which means I need to build my own connector. So this is not a custom connector, which means it does not come for free. So it is the same thing. And then Dataverse is just the most performant way. I mean, it is so super fast to store data in there, and everything just like works like a charm. And if I have a customer who's just like considering, hey, perhaps Dataverse is a cool idea. Yeah, well, talk to your partners, get a few licenses for, I don't know, 3-6 months, whatever. Try it out in a pilot group, but don't do this. Yeah, Dataverse for Teams. It does not work.
Well, I mean, it's to see whether the pay-as-you-go licensing model now is going to actually start to help that. So, before we've been beholden to that license, and it's got pretty expensive pretty quickly. Back to your point, Kevin, about, you want to prove that value, right? And Dataverse for Teams can provide that. Obviously, there's certain restrictions around that, but you have to go in with that, eyes open in a way, like Louisa said. But it's that, how can I easily get to use Dataverse for a proof of concept and just pay for my usage, and then if it's, if it doesn't kind of take off or whatever, you've tried it, but you've got that kind of fallback rather than Yeah, exactly. But it comes back to, again, you get what you pay for, right? So we're talking about Dataverse here as a place to put your data. But as we all know, Dataverse just isn't the data layer. It's everything else that comes with it as well, which we don't talk about, which is the added value, which is that's where the extra stuff is, right? That's what you're paying for as well. So, I think we need to kind of broaden our discussions in a way that, rather than going, it's a place to just put the data, it's so much more than that. Absolutely so much more.
Agreed.
Sarah, do people ask this on training? I can't remember if you cover much Power Platform training or.
I don't cover much Power Platform, but I'm finding I'm sitting here a bit like a nodding dog at the moment, agreeing with everything everyone's saying. You get most value from things that you pay for. You don't get most value from things that are free. So it makes lots of sense. And I can do a bit of Power Platform, but I only train things I'm super confident on. And I'm not super confident on the Power Platform.
Yet.
We can fix that.
Absolutely.
I'm trying. The brain's feeling a bit mushy tonight.
And thinking about Commsverse and sessions coming up, I'm wondering, has anyone submitted yet the Dataverse of Madness? Following all the kind of Marvel themes and things like that. Are we going to start to see that appear in there? I'm thinking Chris Strange Huntingford and the Dataverse of Madness. That could be his next talk.
I think I'm sure he already does that, doesn't he? It's just that anything to do with Chris is going to be a Dataverse of Madness, isn't it?
That is true.
Not to prolong this topic much more, but one of the things I was going to say is, obviously, the documentation, right, is on GitHub. Brilliant. It's open source. We can see it all. What I'm intrigued about is the repository that it sits in.
Yeah.
So it actually sits in a repository, which is Microsoft's industry cloud reference architectures. So also in this repository is not just Power Platform. There's also healthcare, telecommunications, financial services as well. So things like your
it's the industry clouds. Yeah,
exactly. It's the industry clouds. So whilst we're talking about Power Platform here, this is a wider subject. So check out the repository, definitely.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons for that is that the industry clouds sit primarily in the Dynamics and Power Platform space. So they rely on this North Star architecture for the Power Platform incredibly heavily to make sure that actually they've got the right setup in order to bring in those Dynamics apps as well. You've gone for the one that's just got coming soon, haven't you?
I'd say there's Teams mentioned there, but yeah, that does look like it's all coming soon.
If a Microsoft person said soon.
So yeah, that's okay. I'm not going to get distracted too much by looking at that. I think, talking of coming soon, it's probably time to talk about roadmaps. And Louise, something on the roadmap caught your eye this week.
Yes, it did. So it's super amazing because we are getting Teams Connect, aka shared channels. And I don't know. So if you're just like a little like me, then yes, of course, you have an identity, but you're logged in just like a gazillion of tenants where you then are a guest because the other organization invites you and then you're a guest of that team. And of course, you have limited functionality. But the annoying thing is you need to log out from your home tenant and then log in again. And no Teams client handles this very well. So we all do this super neat trick of, just like have different edge profiles, and in these edge profiles, of course, I sync those to this tenant then, and then I will install Teams then as an app on my computer, so that this is nice, so that I can just like stay logged in my main tenant or my home tenant on the desktop application, just like run different web browser Teams applications, just like next to each other. But still this means that I always need to switch context. And the whole promise of Teams is that I do not need to switch contexts anymore. So this is just like the entire purpose of Teams, that I do not need to switch contexts anymore, but that I can stay in the flow of my work. And this does apply to everyone who is internal to their own organization, but it does not apply to everyone who's just like outside of that organization. And shared channels should make this easier. So we already have private channels. Private channels is just like, so yeah, inside of my team, a subset of that team needs to have just like a super secret room. And in that super secret room, we talk just like super secret stuff. And I don't agree on how they did this, how they implemented this, but it's fine. So we have the super secret room inside of our team, and only just like super invited people can have access to that. And now we get shared channels on top of that, which means, of course, it first needs to be enabled by both admins of the organizations that want to use that, but then I can just like invite someone else from a different organization into that shared channel. And for them, it appears as if that channel was in their tenant. So it's not, but it appears to them. So which means that we do not need to either log out, log in, log out, log in the entire day, or we do not need to just like have a gazillion of profiles open, which also is just like eating RAM on our machine. Yeah. So we do not like this. And on the other hand, it's just like a perfect excuse to oftenly buy a new laptop. So fine. It's just like, it's like shoes.
I moved to Mac because of it, so yeah, things are that bad.
And then this will just like make it easier for everyone. And so I really like this. Everyone that I show our talent is just like super excited, because yes, it solves a really, really, really big pain in external collaboration. And I'm super excited that this will be rolling out gradually end of March. So public preview now. So it was in private preview, but then public preview. So yes.
I really want to see how this actually rolls out and how this actually feels, to see whether it overcomes it, because there's so many use cases for this. It is just so many use cases.
Should be amazing. It should be amazing. And this is my cynical middle-aged Englishman. I'm like, but where the problem's going to appear? And I think you hit the nail on the head of what made me nervous there when you said we've already got private channels, and all the kind of complication and kind of caveats you get with private channels. I just hope we don't get all those things to come along as well. That's the bit that makes me a little bit nervous of the actual implementation versus what I'm really hoping for.
Well, so I think that not every channel will need to be a shared channel, like as not every channel should be a private channel. It's still just like so we still need consultants to tell, hey, it depends. So this is
fill out that swear jar.
Basically, I earn my money with two things: asking why constantly, just like persistently, and telling it depends. But well, so I think we
don't give away our secrets.
Super secret. It's the secret sauce. I still think we need to guide our customers, so when to use what, and not always, if I need to have some input of someone, this needs to be a shared channel. So not everything needs to be a shared channel, but I'm just like pretty happy that first you need to enable this, so it's not on by default, which is cool. Because sometimes Microsoft tends to just like put on new features, and it's just like on, and you don't even know. And then they're just like, oh, sorry, we forgot to tell you that. That I'm not just like super pleased about this. But so this is the first thing that I like about it. The second thing is, of course, this is backed by Azure B2B collaboration. And this means when I want to invite someone cannot only be a user, either with a work or school account or an MSA account. It can also be an entire team. So, which means if there is a team in a different organization, I can just like invite this object and have them in my shared channel. And this is just like super cool.
It sounds like a utopian dream, but I do
It
kind of
like
think, yeah, like, you know,
mermaids and unicorns.
allowing access to see all the teams in a different tenant. I think that's going to be challenging. I think there'll be some security concerns around that
might be coming in.
But I mean, there are some other things that are rolling out, that, you know, the cross-tenant access, to be able to configure that to allow some of those controls, which might really help this kind of scenario, in terms of just allowing people in. But there's I can't wait to see what this is actually going to look like when it lands, and to see whether it lives up to expectations, because we've been waiting for this one for a very, very long time.
And I think
we've been waiting for that so long, because Microsoft is so good in just like having an idea, just like being on stage telling everyone about it, and then saying, oh, how do we build this?
It depends.
Who will build this? So whenever they announce a new feature, and when you then have a look at career.microsoft.com, they are looking for people to build exactly that. And this is when you know, okay, soon means 18 months from now on. This is what I did.
I think my big hope is, well, things like, you know, Planner not working in private channels, that even those things that might not work, and there's going to be reasons, that they kind of make it clear to the end user, you can't do this, you can't do that. Rather, and I hear your point, Louise, about bringing consultants to advise on these things, but it's how do you make that easy for the end user? I hope that they keep it simple for them, that you understand the differences, that it becomes almost like a seamless team. It shouldn't make a difference. That's my hope for it, definitely.
They have a nice icon that will then appear next to the shared channel, just like similar to it looks like a hug. It looks really nice, and I think this is when we just like need super good consultants and trainers, so that people will be guided. And I think just like Sarah has a lot to say about this, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it Teams, shared channels, channel team, private channel, which do you use? Teams, OneDrive, SharePoint, which do you use? These are all the sorts of things that businesses need to invest in their people, so that they understand. You've invested in the technology, teach the people to use it properly. Okay, and you don't have to get me in. I'm brilliant, but you don't have to get me personally in. Got to be said.
We can see the certificates behind you. We absolutely agree on that. Yeah.
I'm absolutely brilliant. No, my point is, it doesn't have to be the traditional face-to-face training. We've got ways of upskilling people, but we've got to invest in our people and their knowledge as well as the technology. Be that consultants to advise you on how to implement it, staff training, or everything. Ideally, everything.
Yeah.
Ideally, yes. And I think that organizations need to understand that training and learning and upskilling people is not something just like, and then I would just like send Gary 2 days per year to an Excel training on site somewhere in the middle of nowhere, and then he will return and he's just like doing super cool stuff in Excel. But
how do you know what I'm doing next month? That's
obligatory training at Microsoft, isn't it? 2 days of Excel training.
Yeah, but it's just like learning is every single day.
Yeah.
And that we need to spend time on this, and it's also better for your learning experience if you just like constantly repeat this. I just like make this comparison, just like say I want to be just like super sportive, and I go to the gym 1 time per year. And I spent the entire day at the gym. And just like I'm totally exhausted in the evening. I'm just like can't walk. It was leg day. It was just, I'm crawling back home. Yeah, that's good for this day, but how fit am I? Just like in general over the year. No, you just like need to make this part of your life. And same applies to learning. So this is a muscle as well and wants to be trained. And if you only do this 1 time per year, or just like even worse, not even that, because we do not have budget for that, or this is not important, or we do not have time for that, because if you're on a training, you can't answer emails or Teams messages or whatever, then we just like spend a lot of money in these projects and for licenses and stuff. And we do not leverage anything of that. And this makes me super sad, because then this is too expensive.
And I think that slightly leads on nicely to the final article we're going to talk about today, that it's not just the how, it's the why as well, teaching people that adoption and change elements. And Sarah, you had a lovely article you saw, a link, I guess, about Microsoft Viva adoption and the new adoption journey content.
Yeah, I mean, I love the Microsoft adoption site. It's got so many great resources in. Obviously, the team's backgrounds are brilliant as well, but there's some really nice guides in here, and they're bite-sized and they're accessible and they're free. But there's some really well thought out materials on how to adopt different Microsoft products from a business perspective through to the end user and through IT as well. And it's great that we're getting some information here on Microsoft Viva as well, because there's a lot of misunderstanding as to what Viva is and why we should adopt it and what we should use it for and how big a piece of work it is or isn't to adopt Microsoft Viva. And I think it's going to be really helpful to actually have some guidance here. I'm being asked to put a lot of custom training courses together on Microsoft Viva. So it's nice to see some publicly available resources to really direct people to where the traditional training courses are not an option for them.
I think a lot of organisations, this isn't actually advertised particularly well. I don't think there's enough sort of promoting this, because these resources, because we're looking at the Viva one today, but there's so much resources available in this Microsoft adoption site. Pretty much every client I speak to, they're kind of like, oh, I didn't realize you had all of that information.
We have that.
There's all of this and it's free, right? Okay.
Yeah. So this is a jungle. So it's not the issue that we do not have enough content. We have too much content, and there's just like no easy to navigate all of this content. It's just like to say, hey, I'm here and I want to go there. So just like give me the resources that are recommended for me so that I can just like be smart enough for my next conversation with my consultant.
And that's the great thing about the adoption site, that it pulls together a lot of that information that was previously scattered all over the place, and gives us nice guided routes almost through it. So
yeah, I like it.
It's a really good site.
Yeah, it is, but there is so much information there. It does take some time to go through and actually work out how you're going to use it still, but there is tons of information there.
And I think the other one similar to that I hadn't realised quite how much it evolved, but going through the admin centre and a lot of the startup guides within there. So if you're wondering about getting going with Viva, we did at the with Zoe Wilson and Chirag Patel, we did a workshop at the South Coast Summit that went through a lot of kind of setting up and things on there. Now there's so much of the guides that sort of tells you what to do, going through all those steps, and you can see a nice tick box, and it talks about some of those adoption ones and pointing people towards that, training people up within there as well. So it's I mean, in some ways, from a consultant's point of view, it's rubbish because it's just taking so much work away from us. But from someone who's consuming this content, it's fantastic. It's really on there. And it means that as consultants, we can have those bigger conversations, those larger architecture, what the real benefits are with that, rather than the day-to-day, do this, do that, do this. That content is there and we can point people towards it. People can go and learn themselves as well, which is really important, because that's how you take on board this stuff. That is how you adopt it, by doing it yourselves, not by having someone come in, tell you, and then they go away and you go, what was it they shared? It was there somewhere that they mentioned that. Trying to pick up those things and make it part of your natural way of doing things. Absolutely key.
Yeah. So I think this is there's two things to consider about this. So first, I do not feel bad if they just like customers just like inform themselves and see that and read this and comprehend this and then come back with smarter questions, because I don't always want to start with Adam and Eve. This is boring to me. So I want
those naked workshops really don't go down.
No, I can't do this. So it's just like I just can't. So because it's repetition for me, and I'm not good with that. So I freak out with that. So I am just like a little bit more challenged. So I'm not that patient. And I really like it if they ask the smart questions, and if I do not need to just like give them everything just like super bite-sized. And also it is just like a good idea to if they spread their wings very, very early and fly on their own, because if they are used to, hey, and because cloud is ever changing, and if they're used to, yes, but I first need to Google myself, and then I will find something, and then I will read it, and then I will comprehend this, and then I will ask Louise with the smart questions. So, and then we have just like a super cool work relationship, because this is eye level. But if whenever something changes, they need to ask, because they never learned how to find information, how to consume information, how to just like see where does this piece now fit in. Then so at least for my consultancy, then I would have a real problem. So I really enjoy this if customers do this. And this is why I really like it when Microsoft puts that all just like super openly there. So, and yes, so the adoption side is great, but still, we do not tell enough people that this exists.
Absolutely. But that is where the amazing community comes in, and it's probably a good chance for us to move over to talking about some of the community events coming up. Al, you've got a busy Wednesday coming up, I believe.
No. So we've got the user group Wednesday evening for Microsoft 365 security and compliance. So we've got Graham Hosking, formerly at Microsoft, now at Lighthouse, doing privacy management, which is quite a new feature. So that'll be very interesting to see. And Matthew Levy talking about securing Azure, top 10 Azure security best practices. So it should be a good evening in terms of those sessions.
I'm liking Matthew's bow tie there. That's
he always looks smart, does Matthew. Yeah.
I'm really sad because I really want to listen to Graham's session, but I think I might be on the road.
Yeah, well, we don't record any of those user group sessions.
I'm going to have to. I don't know. Can I listen while I'm driving? Probably.
Yeah, you can probably
practice.
Listen. You can listen while you're driving. I'm sure he'll have some demos and things. But if you listen while you're driving, then be sure to check out the chat afterwards and see what the chat is. But we tend to tweet out all the links and anything that's useful in terms of resources.
And Sarah, you'll be driving because you'll be somewhere else on Wednesday.
Yes, I think I'm not the only one.
No, you're not. So we will meet
in person, real people. Oh, sorry.
People without a frame around the head.
No, but you'll be carrying around those cardboard cutouts, won't you? So that people recognise you in a frame. Yeah.
And I still need to crop those.
Yeah. So that so you can recognise what people look like from kind of like the neck upwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just hope that at one time you walk into a room and it's just lots of circles and initials in there. Yeah.
In fact, that reminds me, I did intend to make myself a mask. I must do that. But yes, Collab Days, 1-day event, some fantastic speakers, and it's just really nice to get back to in-person community events.
So for those who can't see on the screen, Collab Days, Bletchley Park on Wednesday. So it is at, can we call it the home of computing? I don't think it's too far off to call it that. I hope I'm not going to offend too many people, but certainly the story and the history behind that. And the keynote speaker is going to be Dermot Turing, who's the nephew of Alan Turing, which is just incredible. I'm actually tingling slightly thinking about that. I'm really sad I'm not going to be there as well, which I'm not happy about at all. But life gets in the way a little bit. But it should be an absolutely amazing event on there.
Top tip for those people
as well.
Sorry, Kevin, but top tip for those people going in person, make sure you go to the National Museum of Computing, not the Bletchley Park Museum entrance. They are two different museums, two different entrances. You won't find us if you go to the Bletchley Park Museum entrance.
That is a really useful bit of there. I'm sure there'll be plenty of signs up and things like that, but yes, helpful for that one. So yes, lots of good people. And I think you're travelling tomorrow, aren't you, Louise? Are you doing another car like you did with South Coast Summit?
Yeah, so we will be flying to London and then take a car from London to Bletchley. Yeah, so we will have a mini road trip, just like for 1 hour or something like that. But
not going for the full long distance travel this time, then.
Oh well, so it is just like, so it's a 1 day event, so we can't just like justify to be 2 days on the road just for traveling. So, and time is of course very precious, and then it's just like easier to be there earlier and be able to spend actually some time with people. And yeah, so we decided to go this route this time. But I'm really excited, and traveling tomorrow already, and my suitcase is already packed, and it's so it's. I was already very excited about it because it's people and traveling, and I don't even know anymore how to behave at an airport. So we will see how this goes.
So that'll be good. We've also got coming up in March. Sorry, in Teams. Coming up in March. Actually, yes, in Teams. So this one is back to. I say back to, but Teams Nation was set up before the pandemic, running virtual events, so they were well geared up for it as well. And there'll be a set of, 13 different tracks is going to be incredible. Just the size and how much this has grown is going to be amazing. And I think Al, you're speaking, aren't you? And Louise as well. I think. Sarah, you're running a track, aren't you? I know, and are you speaking as well?
I'm also speaking with a couple of other people talking Microsoft Viva. Ooh. Seems to be my favourite topic at the moment.
So yeah, I'm running the productivity track, but speaking on the security track.
Ooh. I will be doing a roundtable together with Tim and Thomas around adaptive cards.
Cool, like adaptive cards.
Oh, I love that. It's just like for literally every developer who does not like to just like care about UI. It's just like it's amazing.
That's every dev, right?
I know. It's just like so. It's just like it renders automatically. It's beautiful. They are fast. It's yeah. Okay, enough said.
Very good. We've got, and I think it's just Louise from us speaking of this, which is the European Power Platform Conference, which is in Berlin, isn't it?
Yes. It is.
So 6th to 8th of April in Berlin. So do sign up for that. I love the European SharePoint conferences that they organise, and it's the same organisers for that one. And it looks like some good names. I see April's coming over for that one, which should be amazing. So some and Charles as well. So yeah, some really big, Charles Lamanna as well coming up. So some big names coming over for that one. It should be fantastic, and they're always good fun events. Always put lots on for that. Talking of big fun events, we have coming up in June the Scottish Summit, which has now got its nice new dates of 10th to 11th of June. So lots of people there. I mean, it will be slightly sad after that Al, you might not be on the homepage of the Scottish Summit site anymore. You might disappear slightly from there.
Yes,
I know you'll be talking about.
I'll manage to survive, I think.
and then the final one is Comsverse, which is coming up in June as well. Oh my goodness, I really need to clear the decks for June because that's going to be busy.
June is going to be very busy.
Another picture of Al sitting in the front row on as well. So hopefully we'll get. Maybe we need to sit a bit further back next time.
Maybe.
Al is just like, so he just like has a second career as a front row model for conferences.
I'm just part of the crowd. That's all I need to be. Just making up the numbers.
Yeah, it's just that you just like belong to the inventory. So you just it's just like for intro.
Yeah, available to hire for any events.
You did have some slightly dodgy people sat next to you. That Simon, in myself and Sarah. So no escape.
I was going to say, top tip for everybody.
What's that?
If you want to be in the conference photos, sit next to Al.
We'll see how long that lasts. I've done my season. I'll hand it over to other people now.
Yeah, so usually I say so. I will be your chief troublemaker in our front rows.
That should be key. So we'll wrap up the news there. So thank you very, very much for joining. Oh, my voice is going.
Can you talk?
No, that whiskey's finally kicked in. Sorry. Voice is going slightly after talking all day on a workshop. That's the official response to that one. Thank you very much for joining us with the news. Do come back and join us next week, where Sarah will still be with us talking about learning, training and certification for the Microsoft Cloud. So stay tuned in for that one. Otherwise, thank you very much and bye-bye.
Bye.